Right, we're having a look at the loan table again, and what I want you to notice and what we're going to have a look here is often when we look at a table of values, we can't actually see what is happening. So what our expectations of this lesson is that you should be able to take a loan scenario from a table and represent it graphically. There are a few things that we can go through to guide you in this step, and that is, first of all, what I've done, I've taken this loan scenario and I have simplified this. Instead of having 300 lines, I've reduced it to monthly, so once a year. What type of graph do we expect to get from this data? Well, the first thing we're going to have a look at is to see if we can determine, is it going to be an increasing or decreasing graph? So let's have a look at the first value. So our first value over here is 346,000, and our bottom value is only 4,144. So clearly this is a decreasing graph. The next thing we have to ask ourselves, is it decreasing at a constant rate? Well, for that, if we go and have a look at the interest, we can see that the interest changes every single month. So if the interest changes every single month, obviously the amount is going to be different. So it is not going to be a straight line graph. There's not a constant decrease. So it is going to be a curve. Now, what kind of curve do we expect to see? Well, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is, where is the graph going to start? So the graph is going to start at 346,500. That is our starting value. So it will start high up on the vertical axis. So we've said it won't be a straight line because the interest changes. I want you to have a look at the interest in the first 5 years. So basically we're paying an average. So that is the average of the first 5 years. So the first 5 years average was nearly 3,000 Rand. If you look at the next 5 years, it is still close to 3,000 Rand. But now I want you to have a look and see what happens when we look at, so I want you now to be able to compare the first 5 years to the last 5 years. It has decreased radically. So from our graph, we can see 3,000, 3,000, 2,000, then it's only 1,000, and here 626 Rand is very, very small compared to what we were paying in the first 5 years. Right, now the next thing we have a look at is to see where the graph will intercept with the axis. So we've said it's going to intercept the vertical axis. So our vertical axis is going to be at approximately 346,000. Where will it intercept the horizontal axis? Well, this is going to be the number of months. So this is going to be 300 months. And up here, we're going to have rands. So what does this actually mean? So what this means, so let's go and have a look what the table looks like. If we draw it neatly in a graph. Right, so what we said was at 346,000, that is where it starts, because that is where the loan starts at 0, and then it ends at 300 months because the loan, we put it into months because there is a monthly repayment, but 300 months is 25 years. Right, so then if we have to describe the curve, it's a downward curve, but it decreases very slowly in the beginning, and then it decreases quite rapidly towards the end. And I want you to look particularly at half of the life of the loan. So if our loan is 300 months, half of the loan is going to be 150 months. And if we take a reading here, you will see that in actual fact, in this portion, you have only reduced the loan by about 75,000 Rand. So it takes you half the life of the loan to decrease it to 75,000 Rand. Let's have a look what happens in the last half of the loan. Well, you will see that if you go and do a calculation, in this section here, you are going to reduce your loan by 257,000 Rand, which is substantially more than what we did in the first half of the loan. And this is due to the fact that you're putting interest on top of interest. Right, now in our previous exercise, what we looked at was the repayments or the real cost of the loan. So let's go and have a look. So what we did in the previous exercise, we had repayment, which was the monthly repayment, multiplied by the number of months. So if we calculated this loan scenario on that, we actually had, so we were paying, let's go back to the table, oh dear. Okay, so let's go back to the table here. And from our, I don't have it there, but it was about 3,000, I'll tell you now. We were paying 3,270 Rand and 96 cents. And if we multiplied that by, not Rand, we had 300 months. That gave us a value, the real cost of the loan was 809. So the real cost was 981,288 Rand. But if you have a look at your table, you will see that the last installment was in fact 4,144. So the 4,144 had to be paid that month in order to bring the loan back to zero at the end of the 30 months. So we have to revisit the loan agreement. So we're going to have, so we're going to have 3,270,96, and we paid that amount of money for 299 months. But then in our last month, what we had to do, we had to pay back 4,181,04, and if you take out your calculator and you do that, you actually pay 982,198 Rand and 8 cents. It's nearly 2,000 Rand more than if we did the calculation just with the months. Please will you do exercise? So now your homework is going to be page 110, exercise 2. Thank you.